Hello, sweet people. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Comment below. I kind of want to know how everybody's feeling at the moment because I think there's a lot happening in the cosmos and in our energy. And I think it's a time right now where a lot comes to the surface, like a lot that was bubbling below is coming to the surface and wants to be looked at. So that's very interesting. I'm experiencing this right now in my own life, and I see that in everyone around me, my friends, my clients, my family. There are all these little topics resurfacing, I even want to say, that have been maybe already looked at or dormant within us, or we know that it's there, but we haven't really paid attention or tried to avoid this topic. And I feel like, it's a time where it's all bubbling up to the surface. And so I just wanted to tell you, take a deep breath. You're not alone. Use your journal. I really recommend either talking it out with a friend or with a professional, or writing it out, or creating music, or some sort of art, or taking a walk, doing sports, whatever is your medium, let me say, that you prefer to get stuff out. Now is the time for it. I mean, obviously, it's always a good moment to get out what needs to get out in a way. But right now is a very interesting time because, like I said, all this is bubbling to the surface. Maybe you're not experiencing it, and that's okay too. But I know it's true for many people at the moment. And getting it out of you without even needing to process, feel into it, how can I say, without actually going into touching it, touching the feeling of it, just getting it out of living in your head and your body is already super powerful. Yeah, because sometimes we just need a medium to make it visible, let me say. Yeah. Sometimes it's just good to speak stuff out that we are making very big in our head. And I know there are things that are very big, and I don't want to diminish your experience. I respect your experience absolutely. And I want to say it's sometimes just good to get it out on paper. Or I have a friend, she's always sends herself voice messages. And that helps her to hear what's going on within her. And by hearing it, she's like, oh, whoa, now I understand. Or that's actually not as terrible as I thought. Or you realize, oof, wow, there's a lot going on for me and I need a rest or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you can hear a lot more what is going on when you're the objective observer. And when you write it in your journal and then read it back, you always get a little more information. It's like there's a certain type of hypnosis where the hypnotist tells you to obviously close your eyes, get into the whole process, and then asks you to imagine to sit down in a cinema. And now imagine to, as if you were a ghost, to get out of your body. Your body is you're still watching in the cinema, but you get out of your body and you're going into that little room where they project the movie. And from there, you are looking at yourself sitting there watching the movie, and you're also looking at the movie. And the movie is whatever is your topic right now, your challenge, your opportunity, your fear, your emotion, and you're seeing it played out, but you're also watching it from a third person perspective. And that's really powerful to sort of become the observer, and even maybe hear your voice or telling to a friend or any practitioner that you work with, and speaking it out or writing it down is very powerful. Even you're processing in another way if you do arts or work with clay and you have these thoughts going through your mind, right? Because it's a sort of way of processing that is not as invasive, or let's say confronting, as it would be if you say, all right, I'm going to go to a breathwork session now and I'm going to get it all out. And that's great, right? But I just wanted to propose you a gentler way that is maybe a step in between the actual processing and the, just having it swim around within you and be making you crazy in some way. That's a middle step that feels good sometimes if we're not ready to, go in and maybe process the emotions that may be laying underneath, because that can feel challenging. And so sometimes having this little step in between kind of provides a way of softening into the processing. Yeah, so this is just a little tip that I can give you that works really well for me. And because I just remember when I sit down and this weekend I was actually baking a lot, because I just felt like I was working quite a lot this week, and I was doing a lot of things with my mind, like logically and analyzing and planning, that I felt like, oof, I need to get into my body, but I want to do something that is, like I said, in between, not going too direct into the processing work, so to say, but do something that's also fun and light. So that's why I was baking, because I went to a Halloween party of my friend yesterday, and so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna bring some brownies. And so just using your hands, seeing, not looking on a screen or something like that, and just like doing stuff in the kitchen is, for me personally, very meditative, and getting creative as well, that in a way creative that has nothing to do with my work, so it's kind of like a soft, gentle, fun way for me personally to kind of like process or liberate, what was going on in my head. And so for me this weekend, sometimes we have times where we go into the heavy lifting, let's call it, of inner work. And sometimes we also need to allow ourselves to take a break from it, because if we're constantly doing the work, that is also exhausting and draining at some point. You have phases where where you're going deep, and it may feel emotional, even confronting and vulnerable, but you're opening something up, right? This is like opening. And then there's a time when you have a lot of realizations, and maybe there's a time where you hop back and forth between opening and realization. But then it's also important to allow yourself the space and the time to integrate what you've worked on. Sorry, that's the tea. I need to turn it off. You also need to allow yourself, because I'm in the studio right now, I was giving a session today for a group. There we go, turned off. Yeah, like I said, it's also really important that you allow yourself the time and the space to integrate. And this is where sometimes we get harsh on ourselves, right? Like, this is sometimes where we, bring, if you've ever had a burnout, you understand what I mean. This like mentality of let's go, let's go, let's go. And there's nothing wrong about, being driven and being active and goal-oriented and going. But if you've ever went to the point of a burnout, you may know that there is, a limit to everything. And when our body tells us no, then it's really important to listen to it. And so that's why when we do inner work to heal or to process or to grow, then it is really important to allow yourself and recognize, oh, how do I feel? Do I feel drained? Do I actually not have the energy or, the capacity the mental, emotional, physical capacity to look at this topic, to journal, to, go to another therapy session or healing session of any kind. Do I actually need to have some fun? And I've noticed this in my own journey, and I've noticed this in my clients, that sometimes we get so a little bit obsessed with doing the work and working on ourselves that we are actually trying to change the authenticity, the essence of ourselves. And then it's a good reminder to just also check in and say, oh, wait, maybe I don't need to change more. And maybe change is also not the right expression for that and the right approach. It's more about, looking at where do I have wounds and where are topics that need looking at, and maybe some emotional processing. And after a strong period of doing that, it's so important to take time to unwind and rest and have fun and be lighthearted. And that can feel a little difficult sometimes in the beginning, when after one of those heavy lifting periods, I want to call it. Maybe you've experienced that before. Let me know in the comments below. And when we have experienced one of those periods and are in the integration phase, sometimes that's why I compared it to burnout. Sometimes it's like we're so used to doing it and, trying to maybe even analyze ourselves and may go to the extreme of what's wrong with me, although we wanted to actually learn to accept ourselves, right? And so please don't underestimate the power of integration, because usually in those lighter phases, those lighthearted places where we actually relearn to chill and to be light and silly and have fun with the most unimportant things, and not do something for the sake of meaning, but just do something for the sake of feeling like it and being silly and curious and all these kind of things. It's really powerful when you allow those parts of yourself as well, because often, especially when you're somebody who had a burnout before from like living life or working extremely focused for a long period of time, then you may bring that attitude to your inner growth and inner work as well. And that attitude can be counterproductive. Like, I've experienced it myself. And there was a point in my journey when I realized, whoa, okay, you're trying to actually, like with those rubber thingies, I see like a white page and some scribbles, and you want to get it off, like, you want to take the scribbles off. I don't know if I'm making sense right now for you, let me know. But it's kind of like you're trying to delete, or I'm not finding the right word, but I know you know what I mean. You're trying to delete who you are, Sometimes we're so, into the inner work that we are not even realizing, wait, some of this is just me, authentically, who I am, my natural being. So let me just remind you that to take a break and to do something that's fun for you, because we need those in-between spaces. And when we've overcome something that's been difficult, sometimes we're, inclined to immediately start something else, like fill that space with something else, because suddenly having space in your life, maybe you quit your job, or maybe you got let go or anything like that. Sometimes, or maybe you just had a breakup, and sometimes in those situations we try to fill the space with, let me go dating again, or let me immediately find and search like crazy for another job. And I'm not saying that is wrong. Just make sure it feels authentic to you to do that. You know what I mean? Like, feel into your body. Do I actually need a bit of a break? And I feel just guilty. And that's why I'm like, going out and not allowing myself the space. Sometimes we also feel like, especially with work, like, okay, we got bills to pay and then we don't really have a choice. But then it's really important to allow yourself to still notice, all right, something has finished, something is over. There will be a new beginning, but what do I do with the in-between space? What do I need? What does my body, mind, soul need right now? Yeah, and I just want to remind you to think of that and remember that this is important too. We may get taught that we need to fill the space immediately because we're also uncomfortable maybe if the space is not filled. But how can we create safety in the discomfort? That we also check in and be like, all right, what do you need right now? Do you need a break? Do you need a walk? Do you need a holiday? Do you need some lightness and some going to the movies or hanging out with friends, going on a party, And maybe if the old version of that doesn't resonate with you based on all the inner work you've done, maybe there's a new version of that. For example, the party that I went to yesterday. I don't really drink anymore, and I had an amazing time. It's just sometimes the judgment that we put on, oh, I don't drink, so other people gonna drink, so I don't want to be there. It depends a little bit on the type of people and how they behave, and I'm just giving this example because I heard this from many people. And if this is not a group that you resonate with, all right, that's completely fine. Then find something that resonates with you now, It's also an exploration and a process of discovering who are you now, no? And how can you add new lightness to your life in whatever way resonates with you. And sometimes it takes a little bit of trying out here and there, but I just want to encourage you to take it with ease and joy and this inner child sense of wonder. Yeah. Don't forget the lightness. We don't always need to fill the in-between spaces. Sometimes we just need to get used to that we deserve to have some space and we don't always need to fill it. And sometimes not filling it can be the most interesting lesson of them all, because the discomfort in the silence, the discomfort in the spaciousness, sometimes we feel bored, and then let yourself be bored and stare at the wall for a while, It's not a bad thing, because from doing nothing, from staring at a wall, new inspiration will follow. And then you also learn to be by yourself. Although I want to say, sometimes when we have been left alone a lot as a child, or when we have a disconnection wound and a rejection wound and an abandonment wound, then maybe it's not the best idea to the most supportive thing to let yourself be alone all the time. Maybe you need connection. And sometimes, it takes some time in the in-between spaces to find some new people that you connect with, if you have the feeling that you don't really connect at the moment with people that have been in your life. And that can feel challenging and that can feel lonely. But then I would also encourage you to allow yourself to admit, I'm feeling lonely. I had this moment too in my life, several times, when I felt like I was in between, kind of friendships, stronger friendships. And sometimes friendships also come back, that's also interesting. Maybe you develop in similar directions. And sometimes when I felt lonely, I realized how important connection is to me. When before I was like, oh, I just want to be alone. I just, when you're going through your own processes, you want to space and you want to be alone you maybe even don't have energy to be with other people. But when this sense of, all right, integration, let's take time to integrate, be lighter, arrives, sometimes in those moments we feel like, "Oh, I actually want some friends and I feel a little lonely." And sometimes you may have those friends available that you can call and do stuff with, sometimes not. And then, it's okay to admit the loneliness. And I know that's hard, but also it also shows you how much you care about connection and how important connection is for you. And maybe you can feel into what kind of connection matters to me. What are the attributes of people that I want to bring into my life? Are they honest? Are they good listeners? Are they courageous? And where are the places that I like to go that I could already go to? And then in the process of going there, because that's authentically the place that you enjoy, doing yoga, doing an art workshop, going to the movies, going to whatever workshop or group or cafe, inevitably you're gonna meet people at some point, and it's just important that you go to places that you're curious about, that feel like you always wanted to try, or that you already have been loving, so this is a good way to meet people. All right, my loves, I'm gonna go home. It's late and I need to rest a bit. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're okay. Share with me below how you feel at the moment, what's up for you. And if you like this video, you know how it is. Give it a thumbs up, share it with somebody who needs to hear that. And please subscribe. Thank you so much and have a beautiful rest of your day or night.